Popular seasonings are being recalled for possible salmonella contamination. They are McCormick Perfect Pinch Italian Seasoning, McCormick Culinary Italian Seasoning, and Frank's Red Hot Buffalo Ranch Seasoning.
That jar of spice on your counter, the one you shake over dinner without thinking, the one your mother trusted. There's a good chance it contains lead. Consumer Reports tested 126 spice products from America's most trusted brands. Almost a third had levels high enough to harm a child. And the worst offenders aren't the cheap brands, they're the red caps and familiar labels in every American kitchen. For families seasoning Sunday dinner or seniors managing blood pressure, this is heavy metal exposure disguised as flavor. 10 brands hiding it, 3 that aren't, and a test you can run tonight in your own pantry. Let's start with the worst one. First, the most recognized of them all, McCormick. The red cap is sitting in your spice cabinet right now. Most American kitchens have at least 3 McCormick jars: black pepper, garlic powder, paprika. You trusted this brand because your mother trusted it. That was the mistake. The Consumer Reports investigation found McCormick's ground thyme contained enough lead that a child eating a normal serving exceeded their daily safe intake. Their basil tested high for arsenic. Their black pepper contained cadmium levels that worried the lab technicians who ran the panel. McCormick controls roughly 20% of the global seasoning market. They have the money. They have the science, they have the supply chain to fix this. They choose not to. Open a jar of their ground turmeric and smell it slowly. That dusty, almost chemical undertone is not just turmeric. That is powder shipped from open-air markets, dried on roadside concrete, exposed to vehicle exhaust and industrial soil for weeks before reaching the factory. The yellow color you trust is mixed with dust you can't see. McCormick's public response is that all their products meet FDA guidance. Here is the problem. The FDA has no enforceable limit for lead in spices. Meeting FDA guidance means meeting a guidance that doesn't exist. For families seasoning every meal or seniors on blood pressure medication who already process toxins more slowly, daily exposure adds up over decades. A teaspoon a day for 30 years isn't a teaspoon. It is pounds. And lead doesn't pass through your body. It locks into bone. It stays there for decades. The body has no real way to push it out. $2 billion in revenue. Pennies in protection. That's your family's worth. But surely, if the biggest brand is poisoning at premium prices, the cheap store brand has to be safer. At least you aren't paying extra for contamination. Not even close. Up next at number 2, Great Value. Walmart's house brand, sold in over 4,500 stores across the country. If you've ever reached for the $1.98 jar instead of the $4 one, you have held this in your hand. Great Value spices don't come from a different supply chain. They come from the same global commodity markets feeding the premium brands. The only difference is how much testing happens before the jar hits the shelf. A 2020 FDA inspection report flagged multiple Great Value spice imports for contamination: salmonella in dried herbs, foreign matter in ground spices, and heavy metals exceeding California's Proposition 65 limits for daily exposure. Twist open a jar of Great Value cinnamon and watch the color. It is slightly grayer than premium cinnamon, not the rich red-brown you remember. That is because Great Value cinnamon is mostly cassia, a cheaper cousin of true Ceylon cinnamon that is also higher in coumarin, a compound that strains the liver in daily users. For families using cinnamon in oatmeal every morning or seniors on cholesterol medication where liver function already matters, that daily teaspoon isn't seasoning. It is chemistry. Walmart earns an estimated $400 million annually from spices. They could afford third-party testing. They use first-party assurance. Their suppliers test, and Walmart trusts the suppliers. $1.98 a jar. That's what your kidneys are worth to Walmart. Quick question for you. Drop a comment if McCormick or Great Value is sitting in your spice cabinet right now. Let's see how many of us have been buying these for 20, 30, 40 years without knowing. Cheap or premium, same harvest. So what about the heritage brand that has been in American kitchens for over 70 years? The one your grandmother trusted? Wait until you see what Lawry's quietly became. Now we hit number 3. Lawry's, the seasoned salt your grandmother kept by the stove. The red and white shaker, the brand that practically defined American seasoning for 3 generations. Here is what most people don't know. Lawry's was bought by McCormick in 2008 for $605 million. The branding stayed the same. The recipe didn't. The original Lawry's seasoned salt was quietly reformulated to use cheaper paprika sources, cheaper turmeric, and a higher percentage of anti-caking agents. including silicon dioxide and calcium silicate. These are technically food grade. They also accumulate in your kidneys with daily use. A 2019 independent lab analysis found Lawry's garlic salt contained sodium levels 18% higher than the label disclosed. For families seasoning their Sunday roast or seniors managing blood pressure with daily medication, an 18% sodium underreport isn't a rounding error. It is a daily overdose. Pour a small pile of Lawry's into your palm. See those tiny flecks of orange and brown? Look closer. The granules are uniform, almost too uniform. That is because the spice content is bulked out with salt, sugar, cornstarch, and silica until the actual herbs and spices make up less than 30% of the bottle. You are paying for seasoning. You are getting glorified salt. 3 generations of family dinners. 3 generations of hidden sodium. The logo hasn't changed in 50 years. The product inside has changed completely. That is the trick. The label feels like home. The contents feel nothing like it. A heritage brand quietly hollowed out. What about going the other direction? The giant warehouse tubs at Sam's Club and Costco? More for less. Surely that is the same real product as the regular shelves. Wait until you smell what's actually inside. At number 4, the warehouse tub brand, Tones. The giant plastic jars at Sam's Club, Costco, and Restaurant Depot. 3 pounds of garlic powder for $9. 2 pounds of cinnamon for $7. It feels like a deal. It is not. Tones is owned by B&G Foods, the same company behind cream of wheat and Poliner jams. Their bulk spices are sourced from the lowest bid international suppliers, primarily from regions where heavy metal soil contamination is well documented and rarely tested. A 2021 industry study found bulk-grade spices like Tones contained on average 40% more lead than premium-grade versions of the same product. The reason is simple. Bulk grade is the bottom of the harvest, the dust, the floor sweepings, the parts no one else will buy. Twist open a tub of Tones onion powder and inhale slowly. Smell that sharp, almost burned note underneath? That is oxidation. Bulk spice sits in warehouses for months before it gets packaged, breathing in whatever is in the air. By the time it reaches your kitchen, it is months past peak freshness. For families cooking with bulk seasonings every day or seniors using daily garlic powder for cardiovascular support, you are not getting more value. You are getting more contamination in a bigger package. 3 pounds for $9. A lifetime of exposure for free. Just wait until we get to number 7. It looks like it was hand-packed in a Vermont farmhouse. The wooden lid, the handwritten label, and the exact same heavy metals as the red cap brand we just opened. So the bulk brand is dirtier than the premium. But surely the gourmet glass jar brands, the heavier bottles, the higher price tag, those have to be cleaner. Think paying more guarantees something better? Wait until you see what Spice Islands is actually selling. Number 5 sits a little higher in the spice aisle. Spice Islands, the premium one. The brand in the heavier glass jars. The brand you reach for when you want to feel like you are doing it right. Spice Islands is owned by ACH Food Companies, the same conglomerate behind Mazola corn oil. The premium packaging isn't a sign of premium sourcing. It is a sign of premium marketing. In 2022, an FDA import alert flagged a Spice Islands paprika shipment for salmonella contamination. The same year, independent testing found their oregano blend contained more stems and twigs than actual oregano leaves. A practice called dilution adulteration that is technically legal but ethically indefensible. Open the Spice Islands oregano jar. Tip a small amount into your palm and look at the color. Notice the brown specks and tan flecks mixed in with the green? Real fresh oregano is almost uniformly olive green. Those tan bits are dried stem. You paid $7 for a jar that is roughly 1/3 yard waste. A 2023 university study tested 14 premium spice brands for purity. Spice Islands ranked 10th out of 14, beaten by brands costing half as much. The premium price was never about quality. It was about the heavier glass and the higher shelf placement. For families paying premium prices to keep ingredients clean or seniors managing chronic conditions where every meal matters, this is the worst kind of betrayal. The price says quality. The lab says otherwise. $7 for stems. That is what premium really means. If this helps you stay safer at the store, hit subscribe. It's free, and it means you'll never miss these exposés. If even the premium brands are mostly stems and marketing, the next brand, the one with the bright labels and authentic stamped on every jar, has a class action lawsuit hiding in its history, and it is probably in your cabinet right now. Number 6. Badia. The brand with the bright tropical labels, the one marketed to multicultural kitchens with adobo, sazon, and complete seasoning blends, the brand that says authentic on every single jar. Badia is based in Miami, but their spices are sourced globally, primarily from regions with limited public information about testing protocols. In 2018, a class action lawsuit alleged Badia's complete seasoning contained undisclosed monosodium glutamate and significantly higher sodium than disclosed on the label. The case was settled out of court for $1.5 million, with no admission of wrongdoing. The formula was quietly changed 2 months later. A 2022 retail audit by a New York food safety group found Badia's saffron, sold for around $8 a gram, was approximately 60% safflower petals dyed yellow. Safflower costs about 80 cents a gram. You are being charged saffron prices for dyed dandelion cousin petals. Sprinkle a pinch of Badia's Sazon Tropical onto a white plate and watch the orange dye separate. That is not paprika. That is tartrazine, also known as yellow 5, banned in foods for children in parts of Europe due to links with hyperactivity and immune reactions. For families serving traditional recipes or seniors with diabetes, watching every gram of hidden sodium, the betrayal is double. They lied about the ingredients. They lied about the culture, bright labels, dim ingredients. The word authentic on a jar means nothing. The lab report says everything. What is the spice you use most? Garlic powder? Cinnamon? Drop it below. I want to know which brand you are using on your family's food every single day. So what about the brands hiding behind farmhouse fonts and wooden lids? The ones with passionate fans who swear they taste better? Let me show you what Morton & Bassett is actually selling. Here is where it gets interesting. Number 7. Morton & Bassett, the jars with the wooden lids and handwritten style labels. The brand sitting at $9 to $14 per jar in the gourmet aisle. It looks small batch. It looks hand-packed. It is not. Morton & Bassett is owned by a private equity firm. Their spices are sourced through the same large-scale commodity brokers that supply most of the industry. The wooden lid is decorative. The phrase small batch is a marketing word with no legal definition in spice production. A 2021 consumer lab test found Morton & Bassett organic turmeric contained lead levels comparable to non-organic competitors. That single result proves the organic label, without third-party heavy metal testing, doesn't protect you from contaminated soil. Open the wooden lid on their cinnamon and smell it. That warm, sweet aroma is real. They do source higher-grade base spice, but higher grade doesn't mean low lead. Heavy metals come from the soil, not the harvest grade. A premium cinnamon harvested from contaminated soil is just expensive contaminated cinnamon. For families paying $12 a jar to do the right thing, or seniors on multiple daily medications counting on cleaner food, the wooden lid is a costume. The contents are commodity. $12. Same metals, better story. Looking expensive doesn't mean being clean. Looking artisan doesn't mean being tested. So what about the brand that puts USDA organic right on the front in green letters? The one millions of families switch to specifically to escape this problem. Simply Organic isn't simple, and the green label is not what you think. Coming in at number 8, Simply Organic. The green label, the USDA organic seal. The brand that markets itself to anyone who walked away from McCormick looking for something cleaner. Most people who buy Simply Organic genuinely believe they have escaped the heavy metal problem. They haven't. Simply Organic is owned by Frontier Co-op. The USDA organic seal certifies how a spice is grown. It does not certify the absence of heavy metals. Lead, arsenic, and cadmium come from the soil itself. Organic farming doesn't remove them. It just doesn't add more. In 2022, Consumer Reports tested 7 Simply Organic spices. Their organic basil contained measurable arsenic. Their organic ginger had concerning cadmium. Their organic black pepper passed, but their organic paprika did not. Twist open a jar of Simply Organic oregano. The smell is genuinely better. The leaves are visibly greener and less stemmed. The product is real, but the soil it grew in wasn't necessarily safer. For families switching to organic to protect their kids or seniors managing autoimmune issues who trust the organic label to mean cleaner, this is the deepest cut. You did everything right. The system still failed you. Organic doesn't mean tested. It means farmed differently. A premium label on a contaminated harvest is still a contaminated harvest. The seal you trusted is a farming standard, not a safety guarantee. That is 8 brands. 8 brands sitting in millions of American kitchens. 8 brands you might have bought this month. And it gets worse. Now we hit number 9, Trader Joe's, the cult favorite. The brand with the tiki font labels and devoted fans on every cooking forum. The garlic salt, the everything but the bagel, the 21 seasoning salute people swear by. Trader Joe's doesn't make their own spices. They contract with private label manufacturers, many of the same suppliers used by the brands we have already covered. The label changes. The supply chain doesn't. A 2023 lab investigation found Trader Joe's everything but the bagel sesame seasoning contained higher than expected levels of inorganic arsenic, traced back to the sesame seed sourcing in in regions with contaminated groundwater. Trader Joe's quietly switched suppliers 6 months later. They never issued a recall. Pour the everything but the bagel onto a slice of toast and watch the color of the poppy seeds. Notice anything? Some are dull, almost gray. That is age. Trader Joe's spice turnover is slower than people think. Those tiki font jars sit on the shelf longer than the premium brands because they are bought by enthusiasts, not by daily users. For families using it on eggs every morning or seniors sprinkling it on salads for the healthy fats and seeds, you are getting daily arsenic exposure with your breakfast. Cult brand. Same contaminated commodity. Loving a brand doesn't mean it loves you back. A passionate fan base isn't a third-party lab test. We are almost at number 10. It is the giant warehouse tub, the one your neighbor swears by. And the FDA's own import inspectors flagged it. They flagged it, and they let it through anyway. Finally, the 10th and last brand on this list. Members Mark. Sam's Club's house brand, the giant black and white tubs. The brand families buy in bulk and pour into smaller jars to last 6 months. Members Mark spices are sourced through commodity supply chains and repackaged under the Sam's Club label. There is essentially zero public transparency about country of origin, harvest date, or independent lab testing. A 2020 FDA import alert flagged a Members Mark cumin shipment for salmonella contamination. A 2022 audit summary, leaked to a food safety blog, indicated Members Mark spices were tested for pesticides at significantly lower frequency than McCormick or Spice Islands. Less testing, lower visibility, same harvest. Pour Members Mark paprika onto a paper towel and wait 1 hour. Watch the oil ring spread outward. That orange halo on the paper isn't the spice's natural oil. It is added vegetable oil, a manufacturing practice used to increase weight and improve flow. You bought paprika. You got paprika cut with oxidized seed oil. For families buying bulk to save money or seniors with weakened immune systems who can't afford a salmonella exposure, every meal seasoned with Members Mark carries an unknown. No tested batch, no verified source. Just bulk weight at warehouse prices. 2 pounds for $8. And zero answers about what is actually inside. Bigger doesn't mean better. In spice, bigger almost always means worse. The pattern is now undeniable. 10 brands, 10 compromises, but 3 brands handle this differently. They test, they publish, they put real spices in real jars. Let me show you who. Burlap and Barrel. Founded in 2019 by 2 former United Nations workers who had spent years inside spice-growing regions. They source directly from individual farmers, not commodity brokers. Every shipment is third-party tested for heavy metals, pesticides, and microbiological contamination. The results are published online. Open a jar of their royal cinnamon. The aroma hits before the lid is fully off. That sweet, almost candy-like fragrance is what real cinnamon smells like before it sits in a warehouse for 9 months. Their cardamom smells of citrus. Their cumin smells of sunlight. The price is higher, $10 to $15 a jar. The volume is smaller, but the testing reports are public, the farms are named, and the supply chain ends at a person, not a broker. For families cooking real food, or seniors managing daily medications who need clean ingredients to interact safely with their prescriptions, Burlap and Barrel is the rare brand that earns the premium. You are paying for what is not in the jar as much as what is. The biggest sign of an honest spice company isn't a pretty label. It is a publicly available lab report. Burlap and Barrel has them. Their Hungarian wild paprika, their Pakistani black pepper. Each test posted with batch numbers and harvest dates. You don't have to take their word for it. They show their work. The second safe brand goes further. They built the entire business around paying farmers more so they could afford to grow cleaner. Diaspora Company, founded in 2017, this Indian-American spice company built its supply chain around a single principle: pay farmers up to 6 times the commodity rate so they can afford to grow cleaner. Every Diaspora Company spice is single origin and traceable to one farm in India or Sri Lanka. Every batch is third-party tested for heavy metals, pesticide residues, and microbiological safety. The reports aren't hidden behind a customer service email. They are on the product page right next to the price. Open a jar of their Pragati turmeric. The color is almost shocking. Real turmeric, freshly ground from a known farm, isn't pale yellow. It is deep orange gold, almost glowing. The curcumin content, the compound responsible for turmeric's anti-inflammatory properties, is significantly higher than commodity turmeric. For families using turmeric for joint health or seniors managing inflammation as part of daily wellness, Diaspora turmeric is functionally a different product. You are not buying yellow dust. You are buying medicinal grade root. 6 times the farmer pay. Zero hidden lead. The price reflects the model, around $13 for a smaller jar. The value is in what isn't there. No commodity sourcing, no bulk warehouse aging, no undisclosed anti-caking agents, no mystery dyes. Their cardamom is hand-harvested at altitude. Their black pepper is single estate. Their cinnamon is true Ceylon, not cassia. Each spice does the one thing the commodity brands won't: name where it came from. For anyone who cooks daily and wants real flavor with no hidden chemistry, Diaspora is the standard. The third safe pick isn't a startup. It is a family-owned company that has quietly done this right for over 6 decades. Penzeys Spices, founded in 1957 in Wisconsin. Family-owned, no private equity, no conglomerate parent, no quiet reformulations. Bill Penzey runs the company himself, and his obsession with quality borders on personal. Penzeys publishes the harvest year on most products. They reject batches at significantly higher rates than the industry average, sometimes refusing entire shipments because the flavor profile fell short of their standard. They test for heavy metals, pesticides, and pathogens. The testing isn't a marketing point, it is the baseline. Open a jar of Penzey's California seasoned pepper. Smell the lemon peel. See the visible flecks of garlic, onion, and bell pepper. Not a homogeneous powder, but recognizable ingredients. That is what real seasoning looks like before it is bulked out with silica and salt. For families cooking the way their grandmothers cooked, or seniors managing daily medications who need real food they can trust, Penzey's is closer to the spice cabinet of 50 years ago than anything else on the market. Family-owned, family-tested, family-priced. The prices are mid-range, $5 to $12 per jar, lower than most premium boutique brands. The retail stores let you smell every spice before buying. The catalog includes the harvest year, so you know exactly what you are getting. 3 safe brands. One simple rule: if a spice company won't tell you where the harvest came from, who tested it, or what is actually in the jar, the answer is in the silence. Real brands answer the question. The rest hope you don't ask. Check your cabinet tonight. Toss what hides. Keep what shows its work. Subscribe now. And if you're watching on TV, tap your remote so you never get blindsided again.